Okay, so I'm going to close out. This is my final video about belts and why I don't think that they really should exist in the martial arts. And I'm going to go into a deep dive now. So brace yourselves because here it comes. As of belts, as of martial art belts, I know they have their sole purpose for the dojo and for ranking and stuff like that. And I also know that they are to provide you with a dream to build, if you will. And I call that kind of like building a bear. You know, dreams to build. Because you build on that dream from the first day you walk in that dojo and you get your first white belt. Then you sit there, you do some horse punches, you do some blocks, do some more punches, you do a few kicks, you're learning. Then you go and you test. You get your first belt. About 4 or 5 months later, you get another belt. And in some places, you just rapidly gain belts. But what have you really learned? 9 times out of 10, and I'm going to say this, and again, I'm going to piss off a fuck ton of martial artists. I apologize for swearing, but y'all know this is true. When you start gaining your belts and your confidence, that's a good thing. When your confidence becomes cocky, and you want to go out and start testing your skills on actual people, and you put yourself in situations where you fucking can get hurt because as good as you think you are, you may find out really quickly that you're not that fucking good. And then you're going to find out that you're going to be hurt. So, as I've told you guys in videos before, the last fights I ever really had that were real fights was in my teens. And once I had a fight every day of the week except for on fucking Wednesday. And then later, when I would be working at Kegler's, I would get jumped by 2 white cats at the trash dumpster. Now here's the thing about that. I won all my fights. Why did I win my fights? Because most of it was fucking fear. Fear saved my life, so to speak. Alright? I made a video about the golf cliques. Go check them out because I said these golf cliques saved my life. They're like Manunez or some shit. They're like some kind of Spanish or Japanese name. So, when I was fighting during the whole week, the first fight happened because there was some rage involved. And some science was involved. And my friend literally gave me boots to ass. And when my face hit the dirt, I'm very sensitive about my face. And I spun up into a spinning back kick and went to town on the guy that did it. Needless to say, it was kind of my own fault, because I was putting dirt into his backpack when I returned his plastic weapons. We have forgiven each other and have moved past, and I generally leave everybody's names off. Again, the next day I got to fighting with the guy on the bus, but we never went to blows. When we get off the bus, because they was going to jump me, they decided to run because my reputation had preceded me. And the guy on the bus was telling everybody how I was a ninja. I'll be the first to tell you I was scared of shit, and also not a ninja, but I also didn't know if I was good or if I was lucky. Alright? I like to tell people it was a combo of both, because when they got off the bus and I dropped my bag and said at least if they're going to beat my ass, I can crawl to my house, because the trash dump just like right here and my house is like right there. So I could just like crawl over to the house and cry a little bit and be alright the next day. But it would have took 2 of them to do it. Wednesday was the day off. That guy's younger brother, the very next day on Thursday, I took care of 4 people at one time. I was beginning to wonder, am I good or am I lucky? Or is it a combo of both? And this is a really short version of this entire week. So then the last day happened when my little sister, one of them, she's like my 3rd sister, because my older sister was born, then me, then my younger sister, and then the sister after her. Well, somehow or another, she was always getting me into shit. And she hit me with a rock and she ran, and I caught her. So I guess you could say I was the anti-hero on that day, because the guy who hit me with the rocks in the big children's park was trying to save her from me, because she outran me, but she couldn't climb the fence because she was spent. I, on the other hand, which goes back to that it's better to be tougher than stronger thing, had more endurance than she did because I trained every day. And I grabbed her just as she got on the fence, and just as I grabbed her, the rocks and the gravel stuff from the park hit me in the head. So I stopped, I went over there and tagged him, and he stood up and he was a giant. He pushed me and the fight began. By the time the fight was over, no one was taller than the last man standing. The cop dusted him off, sent him and his mom's home, and I got chewed the fuck out. And then I told him, I didn't start the fight. I finished the fight. And everybody in the project used to pick on me and call me Karate Kid, Danielle son, Daniel son. Anything negative, they did it until that day. After that day, they stopped bothering me until we started high school, and I was no longer living in the projects, and I had to deal with them teasing me and picking on me, but nobody would fight me. They would always do that because they remembered that day. They remembered it very well. But they all, words do hurt, and words make you feel some sort of way. So when I started working at Kegler's, I was always training, doing stuff, and I showed off a jumping spin kick. So a friend of mine, who had two friends who were redneckish, decided he was going to tell his friends. His friends decided, we're going to jump the half-breed boy. They found out the hard way that that was probably not the best idea that they've had. Outside of those fights, I have never lost anything outside of sparring matches. But sparring matches are learning tools. I sparred with people who were not black belts and I've lost. I sparred with people who were black belts and I've beaten their ass. I fought people who were black belts and I've beaten their ass. Henceforth, that belt is really just a regulation tool. And the thing about then, by the time the jumping happened, I had already been trained by a Green Beret that also worked at Kegler's. I also got some tips from a Marine that also worked at Kegler's. Shout out to you two. And, I've never lost what I've learned from the streets. Ever. You don't lose skills most of the time. Unless you do drugs and your brain gets deteriorated and shit like that. Because shit does happen. But, and all that I've learned was that you can be really skillful or really lucky. Or in my case, I like to say it was a combo of both. But this thing about belts and ranking and shit like that, it is only there as a tool to keep you grounded so that you don't get cocky and run around thinking you can beat everybody up. Because a lot of people learn martial arts for all the wrong reasons and go around and try to beat everybody up. Which is not what martial arts was intended to do when it got here. When martial arts first got to America, it was used in beating people up, but most of the time it was in self-defense. When you read about it, generally it was someone Asian who got in trouble and they showed some shit. So then when Bruce Lee started trying to have TV stuff, they really didn't want to give a guy to an Asian, so they gave it to a guy who could pass for an Asian named David Carradine, who may have had some Asian in him. If he was part Native American like myself, then he has Asian in him. So David Carradine plays a guy who's like a fourth generation mixed breed of Kung Fu. In other words, his dad was Asian and one of his parents was white, which made him Eurasian. So back then, since it was a Western, and David Carradine walked around barefooted and remember what he learned in the old country, blah, 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 you guys know the drill. But the thing was, when Jun Wee started Jun Wee Self-Defense, everybody wanted to learn that. He even had a commercial. When you take Jun Wee Self-Defense, then you too can say, nobody bothers me. Nobody bothers me. Call USA 1000. Jury say fight for might. And the cute little girl comes on there and she goes, nobody bothers me. And the little boy comes on there, nobody bothers me either. And he winks. Okay, so now you guys know how old I am. But everybody wanted to learn from Jun Wee. Government in D.C. was shelling out money for Jun Wee to teach people. And Jun Wee was doing that because he was making money. It became a franchise. Belts started becoming more regulation from Chinatown martial arts up in New York, all the way down the eastern seaboard, all the way out the west. And belts started becoming regulation right up until the 80s and 90s, where over in Asia there was shoot fighting, where people were fighting for money, which spawned the birth of UFC, MMA, Pride, Rec, ISK. All those people started making it a thing. But it all started with movies. And the movies that were made came from people who went to Asia and literally watched Thai fighters, literally watched kickboxing, and then decided ISK, ISAK, whatever what it was, that Ernie Reyes Jr. and David Jason Frank joined, they started having all kinds of bouts and putting special people in there. And the only reason that those two guys I named went in was because people kept calling them phony. But they failed to understand it. Jason David Frank is a legit martial artist. Ernie Reyes Jr. is a legit martial artist, and people wanted to get in the ring to see if these guys were Ninja Turtle and Power Rangers or if their shit was legit. Needless to say, people found out really quickly that you don't fuck with Jason David Frank and you don't fuck with Ernie Reyes Jr. Their shit is legit. And the thing about that is, those belt rankings and things like that are to regulate and control dojos and people who go to them. Because you have to earn your rank, and it also makes you humble yourself so that you don't go all ballistic and to try to go around bullying people. Because a lot of bullies also learn martial arts. It's just a fact of life. Sensei can't look at you and say, okay, you're a bully, I'm not going to teach you. And 9 times out of 10, most senseis, if they do teach bullies, they try to teach them to not be bullies. However, you can't always change the nature of the beast. And sometimes people who are bullies learn martial arts and they bully more people. Because now they have a greater skill set that they can just bully people with. You see the difference maker between a bully that's a martial artist and a martial artist that is a martial artist. Most martial artists, once we recognize what we can actually do to people, we tend to avoid conflict as much as possible. Martial artists who are bullies who recognize what they can do with people tend to do more bullying. And in that rate, I'm going to close this video with one little bit of wisdom. Is it the belt that makes the martial artist, or is it the martial artist that makes the belt? Think about that as you sleep. Write me an answer. I'll let you know if you are correct. This is Kung Fu Epic number 2. Be seeing you.